Good morning. Yesterday I got to give a science talk about the Antarctic research, and that was a whole lot of fun. It's a program called Astronomy on Tap. There's a bunch of science on tap stuff that is all across the US. The concept is basically short-ish, so like 20, 30-ish minute science presentations that are hosted at bars. So they're super casual. Typically the presenter has a beer in hand, and it is a casual and fun way to engage the community in science. So we have one here that happens at the end of every month, and this time it was my turn to go. I've been wanting to do an Astronomy on Tap for a long time because I just think they're a lot of fun and super casual. You can be a little bit raunchier since it's at a bar, so everyone's 21 plus, and especially when you're the presenter, you don't have to worry as much about, you can't talk a certain way at the observatory and whatnot when you're on the clock and whatnot. But if you're a guest speaker, you can be a little looser with things. Obviously still not anything too egregious, but you can have a little bit more fun with things. So I've been wanting to do one for a while. This one was kind of similar to my other big science talk I did a few months ago about Antarctica, and it's a nice in-between of the previous talk and then the next big science talk I'm going to give up at the observatory on July 10th. I think people really enjoyed the talk overall. I think it fell apart a little bit at the end with trivia, so at least with ours, I don't know if all of them do it or not, but at the end you do trivia and people win prizes, first, second, and third place. Our trivia is just based off Kahoot, if you know what that is. But I think I annoyed a lot of people. The reason for that I think stems just from how I did my presentation. I typically put very few words on slides because that's, in my opinion, the better way to make presentations. If someone's reading the slide, and if you're just reading off the slide, then there's no purpose for you to be there because they're not listening to you anyways. And this one, I went even farther because it was at a bar, so it was just photos for the most part. But while that's good, and I think people enjoyed it, the downside is that means people have to really remember what you said. And if you emphasize the wrong thing or you focus too far on one thing without words to really drive home the point, you can very easily mislead people on what the important takeaways are. And also, if you've ever sat in a presentation or given one, you'll know that audience attention span doesn't last 20 to 30 minutes. Most it lasts about 5. And you have to balance that very carefully. And I made my questions a little bit harder because historically people from the observatory tended to always win, which kind of felt weird and bad considering, we're the people that talk about this science, and then you have the scientists talking. It's like, yeah, well, we already know how this stuff works versus the general public. So I made my questions a little bit harder, and there were also, there were 13 questions, 3 of them were goofy questions. So the answer is nobody in their right mind should ever know. Like, how long is the airplane flight? Well, I didn't even talk about that. And also, the answer was like 2 hours slower than the rotation of Jupiter. Those were the kind of questions. But I did that to try to balance everything and kind of equalize the playing field, because if a lot of people get those wrong, some people get it by guess, then that kind of evens things out a little bit. But I think it just ended up annoying people instead. Oh well, it was an experiment, and sometimes you just gotta try things and see what sticks. That's part of the fun of experimenting with public outreach stuff. It doesn't always work. But anyways, it was a great time, a lot of fun, and I will see you in a couple days.